Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. Militia Man and Crew here again tonight. It's the 13th, and we're going to get started with a little bit of an update. I think everybody's probably pretty excited because a lot of things have been happening this last couple of weeks. For that matter, it's been ongoing for actually many months. I think if we go back and look, we're going to find that some of the biggest players in the world have been following Iraq, been supporting Iraq, and they started being really vocal. Obviously, back in November of last year, they created the Ministerial Council of Economics with the highest players in Iraq, and then also they had negotiations and talks with and supporting groups with the likes of the World Bank, the U.S. Treasury, a plethora, of different agencies that are supporting the European Union, many of those things. So, anyway, above and beyond that, in present time today, we see that Visa cooperates with the quote exchange and Earthlink companies to educate the Iraqi consumer about the advantages of digital payments. Why is this important? Well, digital payments are going to be a thing of the future for everybody. They're going to be a little bit less cash going on in their society, and they're going to be having the digital transformation that many of those entities that I mentioned have been working on for the global situation. Is that we're going to go to more digitized systems, if you will, and that's progress, I guess. That's the way they look at it. It says that the initiative comes as a continuation of the ongoing awareness campaign organized by Visa for merchants and consumers in cooperation with the Central Bank of Iraq and with the support of the Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani. It says the training will cover various topics, including the use of cards in daily transactions via points of sale, e-commerce, as well as the use of cards in ATMs. So they're education, that's what we've been waiting for, or we have been watching. So it's been an ongoing process, and I think we're going to watch that it's coming to an end, to the degree that once they go international, this stuff will still be an ongoing issue and fine for everybody. But the bottom line is they're getting to the point of saturation. I think they're about ready to go. It says that their vision is out to 2030, so obviously by that you can understand that it's going to take some time for once they even get started. Like anything else, it's going to grow and it's going to move forward. They're basically suggesting that this vision of theirs will promote financial inclusion within a diversified economy, and we all know that they're going to get away from oil. They're going to have private sector. So when they say that they're telling you the truth. It says our mission is to connect the world through an innovative, reliable, and secure payment network to enable individuals, businesses, and economies to thrive. The Electronic Payment Awareness Campaign is just another step in the right direction. That's how I see this, right? So Earthlink is basically to enhance awareness of digital payment options and integrate the Iraqi people into to being financially inclusive within their environment, right? The support for Iraq's progress in this field of strengthening the digital economy is a big focus, and one of the largest innovations that they have, and one of the most dynamic innovations is through Visa has embraced, is through this technical digital transformation, and their global network of technology is going to be they're going to be in partnership with the central bank. And here it says that Visa has led several initiatives and collaboration projects, marking an important milestone with the introduction of the country's first digital payment and multi-currency cards. That's a light bulb for me. I don't know about you guys, but multi-currency cards has a lot of implications. So we'll have to see how that turns out, obviously, but it's right here before us, and it's looking really good. So I hope you guys are enjoying that. Right, and here's one where today it says Iraq agrees with the United Arab Emirates to launch financial transfer and trade financing operations between the two countries. Well, we've known about these things. They've been ongoing. So anyway, the central bank has announced an agreement with the Abu Dhabi Bank Group in the United Arab Emirates to launch financial transfer operations and finance trade and imports between the two countries in the UAE dirham currency. Well, they talked about doing some currency swaps. There's an article out today that talks about this, and they also state that Iraq has used their foreign reserves, the dollar, to buy the dirham. They're not going to give out their Iraqi dinar. Why would they? It's going to be a lot cheaper using dollars. Yeah, so by the central bank governor, Ali Alak, having met in Dubai with the chairman of the first Abu Dhabi Bank Group, Hana al-Rastamani, they basically talked about that they're launching the financial transfer operations between these two countries and to finance trade and imports, right? It says Iraq and the United Arab Emirates and the UAE dirham currency through First Abu Dhabi Bank. It says their transfer operations began today to do so, and it sounds like the first phase of this agreement will be with 5 Iraqi banks and will be gradually increased over time. And they note that steps come within the framework of enabling Iraqi banks to establish relationships with reputable international banks. So here they're basically talking about doing trade with international banks. So yeah, I think you can get where we're going with this. They're basically getting ready to say that the first Abu Dhabi bank offered to contribute to the financing of clean energy projects in Iraq. And why do I bring that up? Is because what did we have? We have some things that happened back in April and July, like I mentioned, and some of the things that they talk about was getting ready for the COP28, which finished today. And what is that? The first Abu Dhabi bank offered to contribute to the financing of clean energy projects. COP28, we have a little article, a little brief about that, finished today, and it was specifically historic data that is going to be talked about. They changed some verbiage in their climate change initiative, if you will, and it has to deal with Iraq and Saudi Arabia, 2 of the largest oil producing countries. So they seem to have softened the verbiage, if you will. Okay, but basically it says that First Abu Dhabi Bank offered to contribute to the financing of clean energy projects in Iraq. First Abu Dhabi Bank is one of the largest and strongest financial institutions in the world, as it has a credit rating of AA, and its total assets amount to about $300 billion US. So obviously this particular move is a big one, right? So they're reputable countries. Iraq's going to be involved in that. Remember, we talked about the UN Assembly meeting about Iraq giving confidence to the largest banks in the world, like to the likes of JP Morgan Chase. Al Sudani said he was going to have a stronger dinar a couple of times over the dollar, right? So when he says stuff like that, is he going to be right? This 2023 budget is a retroactive budget. So if it retroactivates at any time, let's say they start spending that money in the next couple of weeks or next week, for instance, they will be able to prove him right. Because if they retroactivate with a new exchange rate, the dinar is going to be stronger than the dollar retroactively all the way back to the 1st of January. That's what we're looking at. And let's hope that's what happens, okay? So anyway, Rafidane Bank here clarifies regarding issuing electronic cards and bank accounts. And what are they talking about here? They're just clarifying their electronic cards and their opening bank accounts at an increased pace. And basically that just reeks of the fact that they're being successful, and the citizens probably have a good idea, and they should know by now that what's coming will require the use of electronic means. If they want to participate in the and benefit from the use of the payment cards to get and send money, they'll be receiving. Now it's highly likely for that to happen. Okay, so everybody knows that Iraq is about ready to go international, and they're going to have a digital transformation of their own, as we already talked about. And every citizen should be aware that those cards when they have this budget, this investment budget, they start spending, and that becomes a reality, they're probably going to see some money coming in through their electronic cards. Because why? Because Iraq's going to be filthy with revenue streams from the electronic borders to their agriculture, tourism, all of the things that we've been talking about. Their mining, their sulfur, their phosphates, everything is going to have a revenue stream. And who's going to be there? The Iskata system. It's going to be right there at the borders. It's going to be electronic. It's really simple. They're going to have revenue like no other. It isn't anything else going to be like it that in my lifetime that I can see is going to trump Iraq. Okay? Here's one. The central bank governor of Iraq visits the branch of the International Development Bank in Dubai. And if you looked at the photographs, we have all that stuff in our room, in our Patreon forum, and our vibrant Discord chat room. So for all of those that haven't been in yet, I suggest check it out. The value is unbelievable. Okay, it equates to about 30 cents a day just to try this place, try our site out. So anyway, the progress of the procedures taken in the branch, providing full support to the bank branch, appreciating its role with strengthening economic relations between Iraq and the United Arab Emirates. That's from the Central Bank of Iraq. So basically, it's just a brief congratulations, if you will, a job well done by Alaq and these banks in that case, Dubai. It says here there's a 5-year development plan. The Ministry of Planning announces the intention to implement major projects. Well, we all know that implementing major projects takes money, and that's what the investment budget's all about, implementing the budget. And when did they say they were going to start doing that? They said they were going to start doing quite a few things, I believe, on the 20th, okay? And we also know that taxes and tariffs and the customs and stuff will be on the first of the year, right? That there'll be taxation. Everybody's going to be obligated to do that electronically. I think we talked about that. There's the dinar is going to be the only currency commercially in the country, same day, right? But you also have the auctions, the dollar auctions. They're going to be done as of the 20th. You have the spending of that budget, 2023, for projects to start on or around the 20th, okay? And they say that it's going to last about 5 days. There's some other intel that's out there that I'm not going to get into, but we have other sources that suggest that large money is involved with clearing and all that stuff. So we're going to see how that goes, and that is said to be sometime around the same time frame. So we're going to see how it all turns out, but we're going to stick with what we have in print, and that's what we do with Militia Man and Crew. In this 5-year plan, the intentions of these major projects, it says the preparation of the plan reached the final stages, right? And took into account the reality and requirements set by the government program, as it is included in development of basic development sectors such as agriculture, industry, housing, transportation, and in addition to other services, of course, right? The other thing about that is that all of those are separate income streams. You can't imagine how much money is going to be made. He goes on, this gentleman says, residential cities represent one of the basic and important projects that the government has proceeded to implement. So they've already started, it sounds like. These cities will have a significant impact in solving a large part of the housing crisis facing the country, whether in the capital, Baghdad, or in the rest of the country. The governance will witness the implementation of new residential cities. All right, well, that's massive, because to build residential cities takes a lot of materials. And I think that everybody, if you happen to be a history buff of California, United States, one of the biggest money-making entities in the world at that time of the gold rush were who? The merchants. It says here that the ministry launched earlier this year an updated national population policy document, which took into account the basic axes in the life of the Iraqi person, most notably from childhood, education, health, housing, youth, and women's empowerment, as well as confronting challenges to climate change and so on. So they invoke the COP20 or the COP28, if you will. This is a regular theme that you can see whether you're on the U.S. Treasury site or you're talking about any other country in the world. They're all talking about the same thing. Yeah, so the COP28 situation with the climate change is going to be a moneymaker, whether you believe in it or not. There's going to be a lot of merchants in the world that are going to capitalize off the climate change initiative. So anyway, that's another topic for another day. But here again, COP28, it ends with a historic agreement after Iraq and Saudi Arabia succeeded in changing the final statement. So an historic situation has happened. It says it was agreed to use the term gradual transition from fossil fuels to clean energy instead of the term gradual phase out of oil. Key point right there. I think everybody should probably read this article. Again, I'll give it to you because you really got to think about things, think it through. Why did they change this literature? I mean, whatever happened to peak oil, right? I don't know. Anyway, check it out. It says COP28 ends with a historic agreement of Iraq and Saudi Arabia succeeded in changing the final statement. It goes on to say that the Sultan Al-Jaber, head of the COP28 conference, said, "We must take the necessary steps to turn the agreement into action," explaining that the agreement is only as good as its implementation. Yep, that's what we're going to have to watch and see. How good is it? Are they going to implement this? We'll see. Clean energy. Here we go. Oh, don't forget, there's some stuff we didn't cover. Iraq has a massive amount of hydrogen. So clean energy, they're talking about dealing with Japan. And not anybody else is talking about it, but the fact remains is the amount of money and revenue streams Iraq is going to have is it's almost incomprehensible to me, right? I won't even get into it because it really is intense about how much money these guys are going to make on a regular basis. So here it goes. Al-Sudani directs to accelerate the integration of the link between the central bank, customs, and border crossings. Where's all the money going to come from? All the borders coming in and out from imports and exports. Iraq's doing agriculture. All the people that are dealing with trade to build houses, to build industrial cities, to build residential cities, to get the steel. Iraq's doing major business contracts with energy companies, building gas stations, tilt-ups gas stations. I mean, there's so many things, you can't even mention them all, that it's going to take to build out Iraq. They can't do it tomorrow. It's going to take years to do this, but they got to start somewhere. And where are they going to start? They're going to start with that 23, 24, 25 investment budget, which is the first time ever budget. So as we see these things going on, it says Al-Sudani this morning had a special meeting of the Border Crossings Networking Committee, basically stating that during the meeting, Al-Sudani listened to a comprehensive presentation of the port networking project, the system designed to manage it, the unified and central database it provides, in addition to the possibilities of interconnection with controls in order to enhance security and follow up on transit trucks. Of course, they're going to have security issues. Everything that they're doing right now is going to be pretty heavily monitored, heavily high tech, and efficient, and devoid to some degree of corruption. So that's probably why some of this stuff is taking so long. But back, it says here in Al-Sudani reviewed the development electronic declaration system, the smart tracking system inside the ports for trucks, and the obstacles to completing the project. But he also states that the work they started was back in March of 2023. It's basically will reduce times and limit financial corruption, smuggling operations, and customs manipulation. So those are his words, not mine. It says here the system project must include broad automation in the processes related to the border crossings, secure their work in a central manner, and create a unified examination image that contains all the required information necessary, directing the reliance on the human factor to be reduced to the minimum extent. So they're basically looking at being efficient, very efficient. So as we go, he states, accelerate the integration of the connectivity between departments in order to reach a state connectivity between the central bank, customs, border crossings, and all sectoral departments. And he's praising the efforts made to complete the work of the system and implement it to its full potential. All of that is huge. So on another sidebar here, there is some things that were said back in July of 2029. And one of them, you probably need to check this out. It's in our forum. I just posted it a little while ago. And it's called the Statement of Iraq's Economic Contact Group of the G7, the European Union, and the World Bank. And the information in this document that you'll find talks about a couple of things. Firstly, before I get to that, there was also a document, an article that came out on the 4th, April 12th, 2023, and I'll get to that first. It says, Iraq announced its agreement with the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank to establish a non-financial program that includes technical and consultative support from the IMF to assist the economic reform adopted by the Iraqi government in achieving financial and monetary stability. It goes on to say that the announcement was made during a meeting between the Iraqi delegation and the IMF and the World Bank, attended by the governor of Iraq Central Bank, Ali Alak, and then the Ministry of Finance, Taif Sami, and other accompanying technical delegations in the U.S. capital of Washington, according to the statement. Well, we all know this. We probably had that from Samson back in April. But I bring it back up because why? One of the things that states here is that the U.S. Treasury Department expressed great flexibility and readiness to assist the Iraqi Central Bank in achieving exchange rate stability between the U.S. dollar and the Iraqi dinar. Well, once they have all the things that they've done, all these packages that they've done, and these new platforms have created an environment that is going to allow these guys to make the next move. And so then the statement for Iraq Economic Contact Group of the G7 and European Union and World Bank, item number 3, it is one of the most intense items of this paper. I highly recommend you guys come in and read it. It says the engagement with international organizations and financial institutions. The IECG, it's the Iraq Economic Contact Group, encourages strengthening ties with international organizations and financial institutions that can help advance Iraq's reform agenda, rapidly completing a session to the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, done. They've already done that. And that would send a clear signal about Iraq's readiness to engage the international economic arena, right? So it goes on to say that the IECG is ready to provide assistance to complete the procedures, also with a view to facilitating engagement with the European Investment Bank. It says IECG encourages maintaining dialogue with the International Monetary Fund on a potential unfunded program. If you'll notice that what I said earlier with the April article, it said non-financial program. This particular one says the unfunded program. But who are they talking about? Same people. It's the same thing, right? What is unfunded? Their budget right now is unfunded. They haven't opened the oil pipeline to Cyan. It's unfunded. The HCL is unfunded. The budget is unfunded. They borrowed money for what they've spent, the 20% they've spent. So they've been, robbing Peter to pay Paul, if you will. But the bottom line is that this comes back to the 29th of July, that they're still talking about this. And then we're seeing all these meetings with the WTO. We see all these things transitioning right before our eyes. and they're doing it. They said they were going to do it, and they have the largest entities in the world, financial entities, whether we like it or not, are actually bringing this to fruition, and it's happening right now. And the last thing I'm going to say is the Ministry of Planning. Planning is all about what? Jobs, international companies coming in, continues to, what are they doing? They're going to continue to inspect imported goods to the country, indicating that these companies give inspection certificates, imported goods by the Iraqi private sector. So they're talking hard translation, but bottom line is what Iraq is going to do is going to be, they're going to have a new private sector, and it's going to be a powerful one. The Ministry of the Interior is constantly talking about measures to completely control the borders and not allow the entry of any smuggled or illegal goods. So it's going to be a work in progress. Al-Sudani, we already talked about that. One of his big things is the borders, borders control systems, right? He says here there's a high-level coordination between Baghdad and Erbil to unify procedures for border crossings, in addition to unifying customs policies. Unifying customs policies with where? Well, the region of Kurdistan and Baghdad. All at the same time, revenue stream, unified treasury account. If you remember that, they didn't fund it. We're watching to see how that turns out. They're talking about spending money as of the 20th, okay? So what did we get through today? Basically, we had Visa educates the citizens via what? The exchange company and the Earthlink for internet and digital transformation. We have the Iraq and the UAE finance trade by what? Converting dollars into dirhams so that they can do trade. We have electronic cards, people en masse opening accounts at an increased pace. And the CBI gives a little congratulation to the Development Bank of Dubai. Why? Because they're doing these transfers, money transfers, and planning projects, residential cities, etc. So there's more that we went over, but I think everybody gets the picture that Iraq is presenting that they're going international, and they have been talking about it for a long period of time. They've actually been doing it for a long period of time, and they're coming to fruition to where that they've actually publicly told you and told us that they're going to start spending money, okay? And that could be assumed around the 20th. And then you have the end of the year. They have the dinar only. They have the taxation in dinar. They have that on the same time frame. So these little bits and pieces that they feed us, their time frames, we just put it together, give it to you the way it sounds and looks like, and we'll see how they roll out in the coming days. But it's a phenomenal process. I'm actually blessed to be here to be able to share this information and have that time. And thank you all for your support, because your support is what helps me create this content to be able to keep you guys informed. So keep up that help. If you like my content, please do a like and a subscribe. That always helps. And please too, if you want this content to keep going, do as you do. We have the Venmo, we have the Zelle, and we have the PayPal. Those are some of the options. So thank you guys. Enjoy your evening, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.